B, let me float this theory by you that I floated to our boy Joe Spadoni earlier today. In the 90s, you had Bonds and you had Griffey, and they were second-generation Major League Baseball players, right? Like, their dads were great players. Ken Griffey Sr. was a great player. Bobby Bonds, I don't think people realize how great he was. Bobby Bonds, you look up at the top 10 San Francisco Giants stats, just since they moved in 58, he is all over it. RBIs, batting average, hits, home runs, stolen bases. Bobby Bonds was so good. Barry and Ken Griffey dominated the sport, right? And then in the NFL, you had Peyton Manning. His father obviously played in the NFL. He dominated the sport, whether him, Brady, whatever. It feels like there was a stigma for a long time. It's really hard being a superstar's, kid to try to get into the game. And there's the mental hurdle, and you'll never be your father, and blah, 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 blah. Now I look around, and it feels like Patrick Mahomes. Now, his dad was not an elite.
He was a reliever.
He was not an elite Major League Baseball player. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's second generation. Nick Bosa, okay? His dad was not the greatest player in the world. He's dominating the NFL right now, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the two guys on opposite sides of the ball. You could make an argument they're the two best players, on either side, right? That's an argument to be made. I look at the NBA. Steph Curry. Steph Curry's dominating the sport. Yeah. Second generation athlete. And then I look in baseball. Now, Shohei is clearly the number one guy in the game. But look at the Toronto Blue Jays. Look at Vladdy Jr., Dante Bichette. You've seen Jackson Holiday go number 1 overall. You've seen Andrew Jones' son go number 2 overall. There is something about being a second-generation athlete right now that really is in vogue, and it's not the physical or the genetic thing. To me, I think it's the mental makeup.
Well, the mental makeup, and they grow up loving the game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And their dads bring them around. And it's not forced. You could tell when Vlad Jr. was a kid.
Yeah.
You could tell when Steph Curry and Seth Curry was kids. Klay Thompson, when he was kids, growing up with Michael Thompson, who, by the way, Michael Thompson, people forget he was a number 1 overall draft pick coming out of Minnesota to the Portland Trail Blazers, bringing them around Kobe Bryant. These kids grow up to love the game. It's not forced. So when you have that pure joy, that kid-like joy, you see it yesterday with Vlad Jr.
He's so fun.
He still has it. Bo Bichette still has it. Craig Biggio's son, who's struggling a little bit, but he's with that Toronto Blue Jays team. They love the game. They grow up loving the game. They want to do what their pops want to do. So it is cool like that. And that pressure, it gets alleviated at an early age, whether it's middle school, high school, because where they're going. Steph Curry, for example. That's Dale's kid over there.
Yeah.
That's Dale's kid. We got to go at him. Like Bronny and Bryce James. Kids are going at them. That's LeBron James' kid or whatnot. Yeah. But those kids purely love the game.
I mean, the Bronny Jr. thing, I think most people are like, yeah, Bronny's good. Have we pivoted to Bryce?
Well, they're both good. I think they're just different players. Like Bronny is more of a defensive guy. He's going to try to lock you up. Okay. He's going to play on the wing. And I think his shot has come around from what I've heard, talking to D. Wright about the AAU circuit, and he's around it a lot.
Does he think that he's actually going to be a player?
He thinks Bronny could be really, really good. Now, in terms of LeBron James, no. Is he going to be a 20-point-per-game scorer? But, Bronny may be that guy where he's like, I'm going to lock you up, and I'm going to play point guard and get the team in the right set and do all the little things for you. Bryce is now coming into his own. Bryce is kind of a late bloomer here.
Yeah, and he's bigger?
And he's taller. He's taller right now. So, maybe Bronny has a growth spurt. Maybe Bryce has another growth spurt. Yeah. So, but the pressure, they've been under the spotlight for so long, but they just play.
Yeah.
And when you just play and you love the game, that pressure kind of just goes by the wayside. Yeah. You're like, you know what? I've been here. I've done it. I've been around my pops. Yeah. I've been around big stadiums my entire life. That's why I like in football when you get these quarterbacks and you get these wide receivers. And I always look, okay, what conference? What team? Mm-hmm. Where do they play at? Mm-hmm. How many big games did they play in? Because those big college football games are like Super Bowls. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Those big bowl games, those big conference games, they're like Super Bowls in itself.
Like Bryce Young, I look at someone like him, think of the amount of games he's played in. Look at Jalen Hurts. Think of the amount of games, big-time games, Jalen Hurts, whether he was on the sidelines or at quarterback, right? Like, think about it. Like, if you look at his hit list, Joe Burrow's another example. Right. Think of how many big games Joe Burrow has been a part of.
No, I know. I mean, just look at that Trevor Lawrence. I go back to that Fiesta Bowl, and I think about all those players that was in that game. And I was like, wow, look at all these dudes balling in the league. Trevor Lawrence, big-time game. Justin Fields, who's getting better and better and better. But you see that all the time in college football where they play these big games, so they get to the NFL. Like Caleb Williams is going to play in a lot of big games.
Yes.
So that transition to the NFL, It's like I've been there, done that. I was playing at Oklahoma. I played in the River Shootout. I played in the Pac-12 championship at Allegiant Stadium.
I lost to Tulane in a bowl game.
Right. Well, that was bad. Now you get some defense, USC.
What do you like? Are we just more aware of people's backstories now? Because like I look at the Warriors, you reference Steph, Clay, GP2. That's just off the top of my head of guys who's. Did Andrew Wiggins' dad play?
He did play. He was with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay. And then I look at the 49ers, right? And Fred Warner Sr., and then you got Bosa. You got Brock Purdy's dad played, I think, baseball, I believe, somewhere. Like, there are so many former athletes, kids that are playing right now. And there's just... They're having a moment right now.
Isn't it always kind of like that, though?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, like Bruce Matthews, Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
You think about the Matthews brothers. That was the family business.
Call.
The Baldinkers. The Baldinkers. Three brothers.
The Mannings.
You know, the Mannings. It's kind of the family business.
Yeah, if you don't think about the father-son, it's the older brother. That's like always what you think of Derek Carr and David Carr, right? Like you think of something like that. And real quick, you were talking about the record for the AL and the All-Star game. They have won 18 times since 2000. The NL, just 3. And there's obviously a tie in there and then a canceled COVID year.
Yep.
18-3 since 2000.
That's insane.
So hammer American League tonight.
Wow.
Like I was watching the brothers in exile, LeVon and
El Duque,
and now they were stepbrothers, but it still matters to me. But it's just incredible. Like, could you imagine your little brother is the best pitcher on the planet at 22 years old, hoisting a World Series for the Marlins, and you're the greatest pitcher in Cuban history, and you come over and you help the Yankees win a World Series immediately? Like, I don't know. I find that stuff to be awesome.
You know what's funny? Seth Curry.
And Seth's a hell of a player himself.
Seth, where did he just sign? Seth just signed. Did he go back to Dallas? He went back to Dallas, right? He's with the Mavericks. So he's playing behind Kyrie Irving. And somebody floated something to me.
What's that? I
guess from a few years ago, where it was like, "Oh, do you want to play with your brother Steph?" And he goes, "Not really. I kind of want to carve my own path." And that was interesting to me. It was like, you know what? I want to kind of leave my brother's shadow, and I want to kind of do my own thing here. So I found that interesting. Some brothers like to play with each other, some don't.
Like the Tyler Rogers, and he signed a 2-year deal. It says right here, Seth Curry with the Dallas Mavericks.